everybody. Welcome to another edition of Travel with the Stars. We're back. We're back. I know we've been like a little hit and miss, but guess what? It's because all of our lovely agents have been traveling, including myself, kind of a lot. And I am joined by 5 of our fabulous agents, 3 returning faces, people you know and love, 2 brand new faces who you will now learn to love. So very excited to welcome to the show Casey and Katie. Hey guys.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Glad to be here.
Casey hailing from Georgia, the great state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of our little Southern belles. And then we've got Katie hailing from my part of the world. We're just north of Pittsburgh. So yeah. She's a little further north than me. So yes, big welcome. And then of course returning, we have Eric, Susan, and Heather. Hey y'all.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey. Yeah. So one thing that the 6 of us have in common is not where we live. We work for the same agency, but we all just recently returned from the Mediterranean. Can't you tell by my tan? Can't you tell by Katie's tan? But the Mediterranean, you know what, is something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily, clearly they know what the Mediterranean is, right? But if someone is like, we've had this question before. Susan, what is a Mediterranean cruise?
Oh, Mediterranean cruise. Yeah. Anything from Barcelona all the way to Greece and anything in between. That beautiful, gorgeous coastal area down there. Lots of history and sun and beaches and great things to see.
Okay. Yes. And I think that that's a very common question because people might mix it up with like a Northern Europe cruise. Okay. That's one I did last year, right? Where you got Iceland, you've got Great Britain, Norway, yeah, Denmark, like all around that area. But when you're cruising the Med, and you might just think, oh well, what, over a handful of stops? No, we got a ton of stops. So let's do this. We're going to kind of round robin this. Let's talk about what stops each of our cruises had. This way you can go like, oh my gosh, I do want to do a Mediterranean cruise. All right, Eric, let's start with you because you're right underneath me.
Okay, so Katie and I were on the same boat, so I will do Virgin. Katie, you do Norwegian, okay? Because you have more to remember. So,
Right.
So we started off on a Virgin cruise. Both of them went out of Athens. Hey, Mayor. And so we did a Virgin cruise first, and it went to 2 stops in Croatia, Dubrovnik and Split, Croatia, just beautifully beautiful. And then it went to Montenegro, and then it went to Corfu, right, Katie? Is that right?
Yep.
I mean, we went so many. So yeah, so it did 4 stops in 7 nights. We had 2 sea days. Wow. Even that one, I felt like we were off the boat a lot. So Katie, where did we go out in Norwegian?
The Norwegian cruise left out of Athens and returned to Athens, and there were no at-sea days. So very excited that we were at a port every day, but, also pace yourself. This one was a lot of stops here. We went to Thessaloniki, Greece, and then we went to Istanbul and had an overnight. And then we went to Kusadasi, also in Turkey. That's where you go see Ephesus. And then we did some Greek islands. There was Rhodes, Mykonos, Santorini, and Crete. And I think those are all of our stops.
And all right, so let's move over to that's a killer itinerary.
It is.
Right there. I just like. Yeah.
Everything you could ever want to see.
Literally, it's just amazing. Casey, let's move over to you.
So we were on a princess ship, and we started in Rome, and then went to Naples, and then Crete, Istanbul, and Mykonos, and Athens, Greece. And then half the ship got off, and another half a group came back on. And then we went to Bar and Corfu and Sicily. We went back to Naples, and then we ended at Barcelona.
Wow.
That's a lot of stops.
That's a lot of stops. Well, and I love that she's like all the way to Greece, but then she's like all the way up to Barcelona.
I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and then the ship kept going. You could have gone for another 7 days as well and gone from Barcelona to Rome, but we didn't have time to do that. So.
That's a lot, though. Yeah, let's be real. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious because, like, all three of you said you stopped in Crete. Where?
Mhm.
Which port in Crete? Do you remember?
I'm going to say China.
Oh,
China.
Hanya.
Anya.
Hanya. Thank you.
Hanya.
Sorry. I knew I was going to mess
No,
that up.
that's okay.
Hanya.
Well, we'll get to Hanya. Now,
And we
Eric
were-
and
we
Sorry.
were in
Sorry.
Heraklion.
Oh, okay.
Herculeon.
Okay.
There were like
Heraklion,
three
okay.
different spellings.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. It's interesting because the Grecian ports all have like two names
Mhm.
Yeah.
for the most part. Like they basically all do. So it's like, oh, like you have to. Sometimes you just have to like, okay, this is the island. This is what it is. All right, Susan. Let's move down to Susan.
Yeah, so we started in Athens and we did Santorini, Kusadasi, Istanbul, Mykonos, Olympia,
Ooh.
Catania, and then whatever the port is with Pompeii.
Naples.
Naples.
Well, thank you. I was like, all I could think was Pompeii. And then Livorno, and then on to Rome. So we ended in Rome.
Awesome. Yes. All right, Moana Mom. Sorry, Heather.
We started in Rome. Then we went to Naples, Mykonos, Santorini, Hanya, and then back to Rome.
Yes. And I was on the same ship as Heather the week after Heather. we just passed. Like,
Yes.
And my itinerary was almost the same. So I was we started in Rome, Naples, Athens, Mykonos, Hanya, and then back to Rome. So a lot
And
of
we both did Disney.
That's right. We both
Yes.
did the Disney cruise.
We forgot that.
Yeah, we forgot to say that part. Yeah. So I think what's interesting, first off, you can hear we have almost every cruise, well, major, right, cruise line represented other than Royal, who also does sell the med. We just didn't happen to be on that one. Also Celebrity, they also do it. So let's kind of dig in a little bit more based on that. Oh, wait. Hashtag Mediterranean cruise. Yes, always hashtag Mediterranean cruise. So that said, what would be your reason to give me your elevator pitch for why should somebody sail the Med? Why should I fly all the way across the ocean to get on a cruise ship? I can get on a cruise ship in Florida. Like, I mean, why should I fly overseas? Katie.
Well, cruising, I mean, whether it's in Europe or the Caribbean, is a great way to see a lot of different places in a short amount of time. And especially when you go to Europe, you have all that extra added history that we don't have here in the States. So I love seeing that. I mean, if you like anything about Greek mythology, a stop in Athens to go up to the Acropolis, like, I mean, you have to do that. And on a cruise, you can do that. And then you can get back on your cruise ship. And the next day you wake up at a different port and you can go see something new. And also, I love Mediterranean food. So for me, that's a win. And the water is just beautiful. Like Jen would actually swim in it because it's clear.
It meets my criteria. I can get in that one. Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right. Favorite part about Mediterranean cruising versus other locations. And Casey, you have been on, like, since I've known you, I've seen you sail not
It
just
has
the
been
Caribbean.
a year for cruising for me. Yes,
you.
I was actually looking back at that. Yes, in a calendar. Well, yeah, because we started our big step off with Alaska last year, and then we did Dominican Republic, and then Caribbean with you guys, and then this. So yeah, I did not expect that at all, and it just happened. So I like it. But actually, I loved this one because kind of to go off what Katie said. In this type of a cruise, to me, some of these places that we went to, I never would have been on my radar to go at all. And
Sure.
I got to experience different cultures because I chose this cruise, or because I chose to get
Yeah.
off and experience in a tour kind of what's going on and seeing everything that was just so different. Their cities are just so different than ours. And I touch my feet in the water, but usually like on a Caribbean, like we're constantly snorkeling or doing something like that. And it was tennis shoes on and you're walking, you're,
Mhm.
doing all that, just eating and experiencing and touching and seeing and taking pictures and
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
the backgrounds of the pictures are just so awesome.
Yeah.
So that to me, and I kind of looked at it as well, I went with my mom and I usually cruise with my family. And so the whole time I was texting family, I'm like, okay, we're going to go back to this place and we're going to go do this and we're going to do this. And so now it's narrowed it down. And so we can cruise again, or we can go and hit the spots and just stay longer. And that's kind of where I tell my clients is this is a great,
Yeah.
put your feet in the water, see if you like it. And for each little location, and then save up a little bit more and let's go like dig deep down into each city that you really enjoyed or you want to go back to and share it with other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Eric, if you want to add to that, or can you talk a little bit about how porting is different in the
Yeah.
Mediterranean, like versus, because Eric, of course, a multi-cruiser, he's done, I don't know, you've done like a lot of cruises. Like,
Yeah, it's certainly different there, and each country's different. Like when we stopped in Turkey, well, first of all, Istanbul is a place I probably wouldn't have put on my radar. Like Casey said, you have places that you probably wouldn't even have thought to go, but it's part of your stop. So like Turkey, the port there was very, very secure. Being from my background in law enforcement, I always try to look at security and safety, as a big thing for me. And so we had to go through a lot of different checkpoints. I felt very safe getting off the boat in Turkey, especially. But really, any of them, they do such a great job of scanning, you, and they're not going to let those areas, at least around the port, be unsafe, because that's their money maker, especially Greece. That's one of their largest economies is tourism. So the areas in and around the cruise ship, or even the places you're going to go visit, some of the historical sites, those are all going to be safe. And it's all now
well, as safe as anything can be.
Yeah, as safe as anything. I can't guarantee safety in any way. I live in Fort Worth, and so anywhere you could be unsafe, but the feeling of I didn't feel unsafe there or anything like that, and that is a concern that I hear from people when they're thinking about going that far overseas, like you said, flying that far overseas. So.
Well, and it's an unknown. Like you're like, well, I don't know. It's a culture that's different than mine. It's a different country. Like, is it going to be okay? I think this is a great question, though. And those who were in Istanbul, so that's 3 of you, right? No, Susan, were you also there? 4 of you. Did you guys do excursions in Istanbul, and what did you do? So let's hear from Susan first, and then we'll go around. What'd you do?
We hit a couple of mosques, and we did the big ones. I know Katie didn't do Hagia Sophia, but that was very high on my list. So we did the Blue Mosque and the Hagia Sophia. And we did a lovely walking tour with a girl who I think gave us the entire history of Turkey. But such a unique city, and hearing them do the calls from mosque to mosque with the prayer hours. And then went to a local restaurant and had all the local food. Was amazing.
And it was. Oh my gosh. Okay, now you just called out Katie. You said, Katie, I know you didn't do that. So Katie, what did you do in Istanbul? I know you were excited for this one too.
Yes, and I would have hit those big mosques too if we had more time. But when you're on a cruise, you've got to manage your time wisely and also manage the crowds. So if you've had enough of people, then don't hit up the major tourist destinations. So we did go into a mosque. We went to one that was a little bit more off the beaten path, and we didn't have to pay to go in either, which was also a benefit. So then we were able to relax there. That was nice. But later that evening, we did a food tour. So we had a guide, and there were, I don't know, maybe 12 of us. And they took us to some street food vendors. And then eventually we did a rooftop bar, but it was too close to a mosque for any alcohol. But we had tea and coffee, and that was really nice. The sun was setting. It was beautiful. And then we ended at like a big traditional dinner. That was super fun. And then
That's so
we had an overnight. So the next day we did a cruise on the Bosphorus, and that's the water that connects up to the Black Sea. And I believe Eric did a cruise like that too. So
Oh, that's so cool. So you did that cruise, Eric?
Yeah, I did, and I did the sunset portion of that cruise. So when
Oh.
Katie was doing her private food tour, we were doing a sunset cruise. And just to let you know, like I was with my 91-year-old father-in-law, so all generations can do something like this. We had my 18-year-old
point.
son all the way to my 91-year-old father-in-law. He did the sunset cruise with us. So they make it to
Wow.
where anybody can do a lot of these excursions. So yeah, seeing the huge bridge that
good.
spans Asia into Europe, because Istanbul is separated into Asia and Europe side.
Yeah.
So just gorgeous. I mean, unbelievable.
Wow. Amazing. Casey, you said you were in Istanbul, yeah?
Yes, I did, and it was very similar to what Susan did. Did the Hagia Sophia and then the Blue Mosque, but then afterwards we actually went down one of the local streets and got to learn about the Turkish delight. And then that ended in the Grand Bazaar area.
Oh,
and
wow.
so we shopped that. But then we were also taken, I wouldn't call it a tour, but we were taken into a carpet. How they hand do the carpets. I want to call them Oriental carpets, but that's not it. But how they do
Yeah.
the
The Turkish
carpets
rugs.
like that. Thank you. And how they like the different quality of them and the different
Wow.
looks. That was really cool to do. If I had thought ahead of time, I could have purchased one and had it shipped back and at a great price. But
Oh,
I did
dude.
not know that that was an option. So, and I did need a new one. So I mean, come back.
Well, shoot, I guess you got to schedule another cruise
I
now.
gotta
Gotta go back.
But yeah,
have
that
no
was really
choice.
cool. My mom was really wanting to go into the Blue Mosque, and so that was one of her bucket list things to do.
Sure.
And so that was really neat to learn a different cultural and religious aspect of that.
That's so
But to kind of go back to what Eric was saying, I actually thought that we were kind of blown away compared to other ports about the first underground water terminal that we went through in Istanbul. Did y'all go through the same one?
Mhm. Yeah.
It felt like an airport almost.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
was
gosh.
so clean, and it wasn't open air. It was just very like you're going down escalators and up and up. We just thought it was very secure and very clean and
yeah.
very well have signage everywhere about where you need to go and how to get there. So I liked it. Was very different port to do that. It was kind of scary at first, going, why is there so much security? But once we were there, it was very fine. I didn't realize until later that we were actually going underground, like under the water part.
Oh, wow.
So, it was neat.
So a lot of us have mentioned food on this. Heather, you mentioned, I know I ate out and I did a lot of food tours. Heather, tell me, why on earth would you eat in a port when you have free food on the ship?
Because you get to get authentic like food from Greece and Italy. Not whenever you're here and they're like, oh, this is authentic Italian food or whatever. It's
Hey, guess what? Olive Garden is not. I'm sorry. And let's no shade on Olive Garden.
No. And there's like no preservatives in their food. Like everything is cooked fresh. And like the people that you're meeting in these little cafes, they're the ones that are like actually cooking it. They're not pulling stuff out of a freezer. You're literally watching them cut the pasta and like, and bake the baklava and just, it's so good. It's so good. In fact, I don't know how many of you did it, but there were times where we would just get back on the ship and we were like, we're not going to dinner tonight because we completely filled up on like local delicacies, like just going to the different ports. And it's wonderful. And if you are not a foodie, say you're not, right? Or say you have a lot of allergies and you're worried about that, you can still go tour all of these locations and you know whenever you're getting back on your ship, the type of food that you're getting and that they are going to have those allergy restrictions and everything that you need in place. So you don't have to be a foodie to go on these either, which is wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about demographics on our ships, because we have so many, again, ships represented, and not just ships, but cruise lines. So let's talk about the demographics, because you might be wondering. So Eric mentioned he had his 18-year-old son all the way up to his 91-year-old father. But maybe you're worried, like, oh, well, can my littles handle this? Is this something that I want to? I mean, because let's be real, it's an expense, right? You got to fly overseas. Like that is not cheap. What were you guys seeing on the ships? Let's go. I'm gonna go around this way. So Casey, what did you see? And you were on Princess.
I was on Princess.
Yes.
So it's usually known for a little bit of an older demographic, or generational. I did not see a ton of little people under 6, I'd say.
Okay.
There were some, but those some definitely had much older siblings. And so again, grandparents were taking the whole group.
Sure.
But most of mine were, you could tell they were probably close to graduating high school, or just graduated high school, or just graduated college, kind of a feel to it.
Okay.
I peeked my head in all the kids clubs just to kind of get a feel for what it was.
Yeah.
And I can't say they were packed. They weren't that busy at night or during the day. And I know we're at port, so that's a little different, but even at sea days. So there weren't packs of them kind of going around. So I kind of got the feel this is definitely an older, I have 15-year-old twins, and I think that they could have, and hopefully we'll do it sometime next summer or the summer after. But I think that's definitely for what we did, that was the youngest, I would say. But they were definitely, like Eric said, his family would have been fine on our ship as well.
Yeah.
For the 90-year-olds, if you can handle the walking on board, you're fine.
Okay. Cool. All right, Katie, how about, and why don't we say you do the Norwegian one, and then we'll have Eric do the Virgin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Norwegian. I feel like I saw people from all over. I saw kids, I think. Eric, yes?
Some, not many.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, we spent so much time off the ship. And then when we were on the ship, we had like our 2 favorite bars. So that's
You're
why
probably not really seeing kids there. Is that what you're saying? Is it?
right. But I do remember there were kids playing chess, because they had a big chess set. They were playing that. Yeah, I mean, other than that, we saw all ages. It was honestly, it wasn't really memorable to me. It wasn't unusual. It wasn't what I wasn't expecting. So
yeah, so it would be
like,
anyone
can do it.
Cool. All right. And they don't necessarily always market as like super, I mean, not that you can't, like, I know plenty of people who take families on Norwegian with no problem, but I don't know that they necessarily market it as heavily toward families as some of the other cruise lines. So, all right, Heather, you were on a Disney cruise. So talk to us about the kids on the Disney cruise.
I was on a Disney cruise, and I can honestly tell you that there was 1/3 the amount of children that were on a regular Disney cruise that's doing Bahamian sailing, or if you're doing
Caribbean.
I think a lot of it is primarily because it does cost so much to get over to these countries. That's really your biggest expense in these, because a lot of them price out similar to your Eastern and Western and Alaskan sailings, but getting over into the country and doing like the pre and post night stay, that's an expense. And I think with like a 2-year-old, you're like, I don't know that I'm ready to do that yet. I was with my kids. So my kids at the time were 7 and 11. And then we took my parents, who are in their mid 70s. And then one, my mom's friends, who's like in her mid 60s. And we did everything. And everybody that had their kids there, they were on all the tours with the little earbuds in and everything. And the benefit with Disney is that you can book the times with the Small World Nursery and the kids clubs, where you have the option that those kids can be watched. Well, I wouldn't recommend getting off the ship without your children. But if you wanted to do it for a little bit, to like say go and have like some pizza right there at the port at Naples and come back like an hour, like you'd be fine to do it. But there wasn't a ton of children. There was like 1/3 the amount that's normally on a Disney cruise. Like all the pools were open. You could get on the slides with no wait. It was great.
And your kids loved it.
They keep talking about when are we going? They think it's like normal. Like we're going back.
Like, Mom, when are we going back to Greece? Like,
I'm like, what?
Come on, Mom.
Go.
What are you doing with your life?
Italy and Port Canaveral is the same thing to them.
It's almost identical.
Same thing.
Oh my gosh. All right, Susan. Now you did a Norwegian, interesting enough, last year, a different ship. So what was
Yeah, so I was in the Norwegian Viva. So I think the Viva and the sister ship Prima are a little bit less kid friendly than some of the other Norwegian ships.
I
There's
agree.
not big water slides and that sort of things on this particular ship. It feels like a more adult ship. And I did sail in October. So we were in an off season for 10 nights or 11 nights. So there were some children, but not a lot, mostly because it was the middle of the school year and it's a long time. And, you know, you're flying all the way to Europe. You'd be gone 2 weeks out of school. So mine was primarily, I would say, middle age to 70s or so. So we had a little bit of an older crowd with our particular sailing.
Okay. And now I'll pop over to Eric. Now it's interesting because it's sort of a loaded question. Virgin Voyages is adults only. So that said, Eric,
Yeah.
what is the spread though? But I mean, with, you know, there's a difference between a 20 something heavy crowd versus, you know,
Wasn't that,
40s, 50, you know, versus 80s,
Yeah.
you know.
And it was all over the place. What I noticed a lot of was older teens, young 20s that,
Okay.
like you said, may have graduated college or high school recently that were with their family. I noticed a lot of those generational families going there just because of the
Okay.
history and the culture. So I would say, you know, when you basically kind of Katie and my age, all the way from mid 20s to mid 60s probably was the age range that I noticed the
Nice.
most on Virgin. So, but it wasn't like a party cruise or anything like that I've noticed. I mean, there was obviously alcohol and stuff like that, but I didn't notice it being crazy as far as like, you know, young,
Like spring
20s.
break, like, you
Exactly.
know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did
What'd you
not
think?
notice that just because of where you're at. You know, you're off the boat so
Yeah.
much. It's hard to do a lot of that because you're up the next day going all day. So
Right. I know that we've done a Travel with the Stars episode before on Virgin Voyages, as I recall. I think we did. And we'll probably do another one, you know, down the road as part of this series too, and all of the different cruise lines because I think they all offer something different. But a lot of us have mentioned pre and post days, and so before we log off, I want to make sure that we get to this. Why on earth would we need to do a pre or a post day, Susan? Why do we?
Gosh, you can only see so much on the ship. I mean, the cruises are amazing, but from Rome, for example, you're about an hour and a half from the port. So if you're just counting on a port day to see Rome, you're not going to see it all. I mean, you're not going to see it all in a week, but you're really not going to see it on a port day. So going in early or staying a few days late is a great way to see all of your bucket list things in an area. You know, if you're going into Athens, you got to go see the Acropolis, and you need to go see some other things and have some food and, you know, whatever. So it gives you an opportunity to really dig deep into the history or the culture or the food, whatever you're into. Maybe get a little bit on the right time zone, all those good things.
Yes.
So you don't miss out on something.
The jet lag, and also not for nothing, like flights are
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right? Gotta make them-
bananas.
Yeah.
Like you would like to make the ship, I assume. So flying over like just the night before, that's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that. We highly recommend not.
No, and also like other things could happen too. Like let's say I like public transportation, and so Ben and I like to take the train from the airport. Well, there are strikes sometimes, or something breaks down. Like you got to give yourself all that extra wiggle room so you're not stressed, because you don't want to start your vacation off by looking at your watch and like, oh my gosh, I have to be at the port in 2 hours. Am I going to make it?
Right.
That you don't want to start off like that.
No, that's bad. Anything else anyone wants to add? Like open forum here, like about that.
you touched on the time change. I mean, we had an 8-hour time difference from Texas to Greece, and that's huge. So just keep all that in mind. Of course, we'll help you with that as far as when it comes to planning, when you want to get in and all that stuff. But keep that in mind on your planning. So
Yeah. No, very good point. And now I know some of you out there are probably screaming like, but you didn't talk about Mykonos. You didn't talk about Santorini. You didn't. Okay. So Heather and I earlier this week did an episode of Main Street Electrical Podcast, shameless plug. I'm also on that one, so go check it out. But we talked about our Mediterranean cruises, and we tried to fit in all of the ports. And remember, we overlapped on 3, which means we had 5 ports. We're like, oh yeah, like we could. No,
It was
we were
over
like,
an hour.
it was like we were like, we cannot shut up about these ports. So I have discussed with these 6 lovely individuals. Oh, 6. I'm part of. Okay, these 5. All right, and I'm number 6. Whatever. Doing this as a series so that we can really go in depth. Like we talked about one excursion in Istanbul, like which is amazing, and there's so much more that I know they can add about Istanbul. Right? There's so much more that we can add about. I mean, Athens. Heather and I talked literally for an hour, and we could have spent an hour on Hanya. Although, wait, Casey, did you love Hanya? Did you love Hanya?
Okay, so I'm going to be really honest. It wasn't where we were supposed to go. We were supposed. It was one of the. We about several weeks beforehand, we got subbed in. I don't even remember one. I think we're supposed to go to Kotor, Montenegro, and then Santorini. So they switched out Hanya for Santorini for Hanya, and so that wasn't the same. So therefore, we kind of went in and didn't love it. It's very pretty. I got to actually watched what Heather posted on hers because I had to had a mindset change. And I was like, how did she enjoy this? But I went to the exact same spot you were. Like I took a picture there too, and I'm like, okay, I can enjoy it for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was not what you were expecting.
What we were expecting. Now,
it's just not what you were expecting.
Also knowing that we didn't go to Santorini, and I'm okay with that actually, considering what everybody talked about. And again, that's for a different topic, a different day.
And we will have that topic.
I can't say I loved it, but I didn't hate it. Let's just kind of put it that way.
That's fair.
More for
That's
later.
fair. And I think for us, it was the opposite because Heather and I were the least excited about that port. And we were like,
we were like, oh, we don't even know if we're going to get off the ship, which I think goes back to Casey's point that, and I think it's just the overall feel of why this needs to be an option for a destination for these cruises is that you are getting a little taste of each of these ports. And while maybe, I didn't think I wanted to go to Hanya, and now I'm like, it's the first place that I'm going whenever I go back. Like that's a place that I want to go back first because this just gave me a little taste that I didn't know that I wanted to be here, and I like it. And now I'm ready to go back. And it kind of, it lets you knock off some of these bucket list destinations. And I don't want to say that some of them don't appeal to you as much as others, but it lets you find out where you want to spend time whenever you're ready to actually go over there and stay for a week, what you want to see.
Absolutely.
They're great sailings.
They are so good. They are so good. So reach out to some of these fine people. Let them help you pick the perfect one for you because all of these individuals are amazing. They have done, other cruise lines as well. They know these destinations. They would love to help you. So let's go with 2 of our newest people. Let's start there. So Katie, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Casey Keeps Traveling.
Awesome. And you can also shoot her an email, Casey@aponostartravel.com. Yep. All right, Katie.
I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Upon a Star Katie. And of course, you can email me.
Yep. Easy peasy. Our email addresses are very easy. If you haven't noticed, we try not to make that complicated. Susan.
Yeah, so you can find me, or you can email me on Instagram at Upon a Star Susan, or on Facebook at Susan's Great Escapes.
Fantastic. And let's move on down to Eric.
Same thing. You can email me at ericp@uponastartravel.com, or you can find me on Facebook at Eric_UponAStarTravel.
Fantastic. And then Heather.
You can find me at the Moana Mom on Instagram and Facebook, or you can email me, Heather@uponastartravel.com.
Fantastic. And of course, always you can follow all of our social media at Upon a Star Travel, or visit our website, contact us. If you can't remember some of these handles, don't worry. All these fine folks are listed on our website. You can just go, oh yeah, I like this person. Oh, I liked this person. And you can just go ahead and they would be happy to help you, happy to reach out. So in any case, thank you all for joining us. Thank all of you guys for joining me. Don't forget, there's a whole new world of travel to discover, to enjoy, to sail, to explore, whether from a cruise ship or on land. So we'd love to help you discover it, and we'll see you real soon. Bye, everybody.